smell what the Rock is cooking?
You thought this was going to be a street podcast? You goddamn right it is. It's FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook.com. I'm Mike Smith, and joining me, as always, is a man who lives his life a quarter mile at a time.
Mike Ikiru.
How you doing today, Mike?
Good. I'm glad that I was prepared for the street podcast.
Yeah,
I came ready.
You had your crowbar ready to go.
Yeah.
For the street podcast. I don't know what you were going to do with that crowbar other than like bash in your computer monitor, and then really you'd be the only one that's fucked in that scenario. So
I didn't think it all the way through, but I'm here.
But you got the spirit of it, which is good. If you've never listened to FilmBookCast before, usually we start with some film news, and then we move on into some discussions where Mike and I each discuss whatever piece of media we've been consuming lately, and then after that, we will move on into our featured review, and this week, it is the newest film from director F. Gary Gray, and the 8th film in the Fast and Furious franchise, The Fates of the Furious. And as a side note, I love the title of this movie, The Fate of the Furious. I don't know if I've expressed that before on this podcast. I probably have.
I would think so.
There's a good chance that that is the case, but I think it's just a great title. Mike, are you excited to talk about Fate of the Furious?
I am. I also just realized that reference in Fate of the Furious. This is a street fight. I got it now.
Wait, what my opening line?
No, yeah, no. When they say it in the movie, I realized what they're referencing.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Something just clicked in my brain. So, yes, I'm ready to talk about Fate of the Furious.
Somebody hasn't watched the Fast and Furious movies in a while. But we are going to talk about Fate of the Furious in a little bit. But before we get into that, we should get into some film news.
Hi, it's time for what? It's time for it's time for film news. Hi, it's time for what? It's time for it's time for film news.
All right, let's get into some film news on this episode of FilmBookCast, and we begin with some casting news. There's been a couple of high-profile casting announcements announced in the past week or so, and here's a pretty big one, Mike. A few months back, we reviewed a little movie called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The sequel is coming out, Fantastic Beasts and Why We Find Them, I believe is the title of that movie.
You're going to keep using that joke. It's so funny, though.
I'm going to keep using it until they actually announce the title. And if the title actually is that, I'm going to flip a shit. But and we don't really know that much about that movie right now, other than that it will escalate the war between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, right? That's going to be like kind of the overarching plot of these Fantastic Beasts movies. And I'm not quite sure that's the direction I want to see these movies go in, but if that's the way they're going, then that's the way they're going. And they finally cast the person who will play Dumbledore in these Fantastic Beasts movies. Obviously, you need a younger actor to do this kind of thing. You can't have Michael Gambon reprising the role, although I wouldn't complain about that, quite frankly.
I wouldn't be mad.
I would not be mad, but they are going for a younger Dumbledore this year. And who better than the young Pope to play to play the young Dumbledore?
In a way, the young Pope of the Harry Potter universe is Dumbledore.
Yep, this Dumbledore fucks. It's Jude Law is playing young Dumbledore in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them too, and I think it's a pretty solid choice. I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll do a good job, right? He's a good actor. Why not?
Yeah. What's weird is he keeps playing these young versions of characters, like the young Dumbledore and the young Pope, but he's also like in his 40s, I think, right? Like he's
something like that.
He's not like super young. He's not like he's not Alden Ehrenreich,
Right.
We should just have Alden Ehrenreich playing all these young characters.
Just everything, yeah. I think Dumbledore is he, like 200 years old in the Harry Potter movies?
He's pretty elderly. I think in the Harry Potter canon, wizards tend to live longer than Muggles do. I think that's just kind of like in their blood. But also, Dumbledore was friends with Nicholas Flamel, who had the Sorcerer's Stone that gave people life. Like it's a life elixir. So it's quite possible that Dumbledore is like a couple hundred years old. But they never really give you like an exact age for
the real age
for what Dumbledore is. But yeah, I think Jude Law will probably be a good Dumbledore. Fantastic Beasts, it was a movie I was kind of lukewarm on. I thought it was solid, but it had a lot of problems. So I'm hoping Fantastic Beasts 2 can be better, and if it's going all in with this Grindelwald Dumbledore war, then I hope they really commit to it and do something good with it. But even then, like then what's Eddie Redmayne going to do? Like, why is he?
Then what's the point? Yeah.
Why would he be involved in any capacity? So we'll see. But yeah, so I guess it's Jude Law versus Johnny Depp in the Harry Potter verse, which is not something I ever expected to say.
No, that's a pretty crazy sentence.
But yeah, so that's pretty big casting news. And actually, there is another bit of casting news that is arguably even bigger. This casting has been going on for a few weeks. There's been a ton of rumors about who's getting this particular role. Cable in Deadpool 2. There's been so many names thrown around regarding who could play Cable. There was talk about Michael Shannon possibly getting this role, which would have been insane. There was talk about Russell Crowe getting this role, which would have been insane. What was it? Not Kyle MacLachlan. That would have been insane.
That would have been a bold choice.
That would have been crazy. Kyle Chandler was who I was thinking of. And Stephen Lang, I think, was gunning for it. And there's so many people going for the role of Cable. But they finally landed on the person to play Cable for Deadpool 2. And it's Josh Brolin, who is also a very good choice, I think. Yeah,
it's interesting. He's not as big and beefy as I would have expected. They would have picked someone that is big and beefy, right? Like Stephen Lang, right? That was his name.
Yeah, Stephen Lang.
Yeah, he's like ripped and giant,
right?
Which would have been awesome. I know Ron Perlman was also threw his hat in, I think, a little bit, or fans suggested him or something. But I think Josh Brolin will do a good job. He's going to cross studio universes.
Yeah,
so why not?
Yeah, he's crossing the streams. He is, he plays Thanos in the Marvel universe as of right now. And yeah, apparently, actually, somebody asked Kevin Feige about that, and he said, "Well, there's no they're totally cool with it. There's no non-compete clause in his Marvel contract or anything like that." And also, if the average person has no idea that Josh Brolin plays Thanos in in the Marvel universe, because Thanos is this giant purple monster that Josh Brolin does the mocap for.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And also, Thanos has collectively been in about 30 seconds of these Marvel movies up to this point.
Right.
But yeah, so I think I think he's really great casting. I mean, he plays the straight man really well. He plays the kind of hard-edged, kind of badass really well too. He's done that in a lot of different movies. In something like Inherent Vice or Men in Black 3, he always plays kind of those same he's not that he always plays the same kind of roles, but he fits into what I picture as Cable pretty well. So I think that's a pretty cool casting choice, and it opens it up to a lot of different jokes they can do for Deadpool 2 because they're crossing the Marvel streams.
That's a good point.
Thanos, because Deadpool is nothing if not meta, and so I'm sure there will be some kind of reference to the fact that he also plays Thanos.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
If only just for that, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool casting. And then finally, I did want to mention one last thing. I didn't even look up who he was playing. I don't really care who he's playing. Dolph Lundgren is going to be an Aquaman, and I think that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. I think Aquaman will be the saving grace for DC.
I hope so, man.
Hopefully.
James Wan is directing that movie, and now you got Dolph Lundgren in. I am on board. Apparently, I think he's playing the father of Mira, who is Amber Heard's character. I think she's the female lead of the movie. But Dolph Lundgren was actually he's also been on this past season of Arrow. He's been a recurring villain on that show for this season, and it's been awesome. It's been
oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see him on that show. He was he didn't really get much to do for most of the season, and then the most recent episode I watched, he finally got into a fight with the Green Arrow, and it was so cool. So I am totally on board with Dolph Lundgren and Aquaman. I hope he gets into some fish fights or whatever they do in Aquaman. He slaps,
God damn it.
slaps people with his flippers or whatever, but...
Yep. It's science. They fence with swordfish, Mike.
Honestly, I will be upset if that doesn't happen.
Just like in every Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yep. I want Aquaman to be a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but in live action. I think that would be pretty neat. But let's get off the casting news for a minute. We still have some other news to get to. Bradley Cooper is going to be making his directorial debut soon, Mike. He's going to be directing a movie. And that movie is A Star is Born, the remake of A Star is Born. That's been a movie a few times. It's a musical about a young woman who is making her way in the music business. And that's been made into a movie a few times. This has been in the works for a while. Clint Eastwood was trying to get this movie off the ground a few years ago with Beyonce in the lead role, which would have been really interesting to see. But now Bradley Cooper is taking it on, and he's making his directorial debut, and Lady Gaga is in the lead role. And what's really interesting about this is that Lady Gaga is not being billed under the persona of Lady Gaga. She's not using her the name that has made her famous. She's using her actual real name. And if you see the photo of the movie, like they've been, I guess they're already shooting. Bradley Cooper and I think Bradley Cooper is also playing somebody in the movie. You see like a photo of him and Lady Gaga in the movie, and Lady Gaga looks completely different. Like she looks totally like just a normal person as opposed to
right.
as opposed to the insanity that is her stage persona. But so her actual name is Stephanie Germanata. To which I say, Germanata with you. But
but that's a whole different story.
But that's a whole different thing. Yeah, and so I think it's pretty cool. You know, I'll be interested to see how this movie turns out. Apparently, it's already filming some scenes this week at Coachella.
Interesting.
So it'll be the hipsters. Star is Born.
Good for them. They could really use something, Mike. They need a win.
Exactly. There's nothing in this world for the hipster, Mike. None of our music is marketed towards them.
No.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting to know. And then I do have some Marvel news that I wanted to get to. Not that we already haven't mentioned Deadpool 2. But some actual Marvel Studios news. First of all, I just wanted to throw this out there. James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, also the director of movies like Slither and Super, will be returning to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3 for Marvel. So that's pretty cool. I mean, he's somebody who has basically become one of the biggest directors in the Marvel universe at this point. And he'll be the first one to complete a trilogy of movies.
Right, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty neat. I mean, the Russo brothers are also kind of there. They did 2 Captain America movies, and they're going to be doing 2 Avengers movies. So they're technically doing 4 movies, but they're in 2 different series, so they don't count.
It's not the same.
Yeah, James Gunn is doing a full trilogy of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and that's not something that's something that's kind of rare for superhero movies in general. Nolan did that for his Batman movies. Sam Raimi did that for his Spider-Man movies, and then from there, I can't think of any other examples where like one director was able to take 3 full movies with their superheroes. So I think that's pretty neat. And I mean, James Gunn has become so synonymous with the Guardians of the Galaxy name. I feel like his personality is so much a part of Guardians of the Galaxy, and based on the trailers, it looks like that has gone into overdrive for Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited to see how Guardians of the Galaxy 2 turns out. That movie just screened for critics recently and got a pretty good response. So I'm pretty psyched to see how that goes down. And then there is some other Marvel news that actually just came out minutes ago, Mike. Like this is
hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. We had to stop the presses so that we could report them here. You know, the Marvel has been working on the Captain Marvel movie for a while. Brie Larson has been cast as Captain Marvel. That's been a thing for a little while. And, you know, that's been a movie that we've been hearing about for years. There's been rumors and rumors around. They finally announced the directors of Captain Marvel. And I say directors because there is 2 of them. The directing team behind Captain Marvel will be Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. And if you don't know who they are a directing team that has mostly just done like really small character-driven dramas. Like they did a Half Nelson with Ryan Gosling. They did It's Kind of a Funny Story, which is a movie that I love. Like I actually really, really like It's Kind of a Funny Story. Have you seen that movie?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, it's a really fantastic movie, and they've done a couple other movies. They did this movie called Sugar, and they did Mississippi Grind a couple years ago. But this is going to be like a huge change for them, and also I think a pretty outside-the-box choice from Marvel. This is a directing team that is kind of not something anybody had seen coming. I remember, I'm pretty sure their names had floated around for something else that Marvel was making a few years ago, and they obviously weren't chosen. For that, whatever it was, like I can't remember exactly what it was. It might have been Captain America, like when they were doing a new director for Winter Soldier. I'm not sure, but in any case, it's a pretty huge break for them. The only thing is that this is Marvel's first solo superhero female character,
right? And
it's a directing team that includes one female, one woman, but also one man. And I think some people on Twitter are being like, you know, a lot of people are pretty psyched for Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. Like they've done a lot of good work and they're a good directing team. But I think some people are a little bit upset that, you know, the first solo female character couldn't get a solo female director
right
behind the chair.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see where that feels like a half victory, right? Like, but I think it is a bold move to give this movie that is very important, I think, just in terms of like what it represents, like it's the first solo female superhero movie, to these like small indie drama directors.
Right.
I think it'll be really cool. I think that's a really interesting choice, but I hope they rise to the occasion, I guess. I don't know. I mean, not that they're bad directors or anything, right? I guess it's just a very different type of movie.
Yeah, I mean, they must have like done something really well at the pitch meeting, and Marvel has been like very good about the people that they've been choosing to direct these movies. I mean,
right.
Got, like just looking at the years ahead, they've got Taika Waititi doing Thor. They've got Ryan Coogler doing Black Panther. They've got a lot of really exciting prospects, and I never would have expected the Russo brothers to knock it out of the park as much as they have.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah,
there are a couple of directors who were most known for directing episodes of Community, and I love Community, and I think the Community is a really well directed show. But like I really didn't know what to expect going into those Captain America movies, and I was blown away. So I trust Marvel with their choices, and I think again, I love It's Kind of a Funny Story. So if they can recapture that magic, then aces, man. I think that's gonna be really great. I mean, if they can do, there's a sequence in It's Kind of a Funny Story where there's this big fantasy sequence where all the characters are doing this karaoke version of Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie, and Zach Galifianakis is in it and he's singing it, and it's pretty great. So if they can just do that, like for for this
just movie, for the whole movie,
if they can, I'm waiting for the Marvel musical, and for some reason it's not happening.
Wow, that's a good point.
Like, wouldn't that be great? A Marvel musical? I would be so on board. I mean, Supergirl and The Flash just did a musical episode a few weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. So there's no reason why a Marvel movie musical can't make like all of the dollars.
Yeah, I bet now that Joss Whedon's gone, it'll never happen.
Probably. Maybe the Batgirl movie will be a musical.
There it is.
You never know.
DC, you're welcome.
There we go. So yeah, that's the news for today. I just wanted to throw a few of those things out there. Should we get into discussions, Mike?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do that. Let's get into our discussions for FilmBookCast, starting right now.
Watch this. These are my discussions. Just when I thought I said all I could say, my buddy and I talk about movies we see. These are my discussions. There is so much to see, you and me. So we're gonna talk about movies for our discussions.
All right, let's get into our discussions for FilmBookCast today. So, Mike, here's how I think it's going to work today. Why don't you talk about the thing that you watched that I haven't seen, and then I'll talk about the thing that I watched that you haven't seen, and then we'll both talk about the thing that we both watched that we both seen.
I got it, yeah.
You got it? Okay.
I got it.
Okay, so why don't you go first?
So the first thing that I want to just discuss, it's more of a recommendation sort of thing. It's a YouTube channel. I once talked about Every Frame of Painting, which is a movie-centric film theory kind of video essay channel. There's another one called Lessons from the Screenplay, and this is run by Michael Tucker, and it's the same kind of thing. He takes the screenplays and scripts of movies and kind of goes through them and talks about themes and stuff and compares them to what might be different from the actual version that made it to film. Or just, how the screenplay can express things differently from what's actually on screen. And it's really interesting if you're into film stuff, right? If you're into film theory and all that stuff. One that is really... He just did one that was... The most recent episode is the construction of a TV pilot, and he uses Breaking Bad and shows how the script and what's on screen, and it follows the formula and all, really interesting breakdown of what goes into a TV pilot and what needs to be achieved.
Right.
And then my favorite episode, I think, they're usually like 10 minutes long, somewhere in there, is based on Ex Machina and the control of information. And he goes through the screenplay and talks about what information was cut out of the screenplay and withheld from the audience in the final film version to let the audience fill in their own gaps, like fill in what's missing in the story.
Okay. And
it's a really interesting deep dive into how exposition and the control of information completely changes the meaning of a movie. So that's the one I recommend you check out if you're interested first.
Nice. That sounds really cool. And that's available on YouTube. What was the name? What's the name of the thing again?
Yeah, so it's on YouTube, Lessons from the Screenplay.
Okay, Lessons from the Screenplay. It's on YouTube by Michael Tucker. Sounds very cool. There's a whole, community of, film essayists and stuff like that on YouTube that are a lot of really interesting stuff happening there, a lot of interesting criticism. There's a lot of lousy stuff, too, but there's...
Every now and then you find a really good one.
Exactly. So that sounds really cool. And then my movie that I wanted to talk about this week, usually when I talk about discussions, I talk about a lot of the newer stuff that I have seen just because that's more relevant to modern pop culture. But I do watch a lot of older stuff, too. And this past week or so, I didn't really get a chance to watch a ton of new stuff. So I ended up watching Ikiru, which is an Akira Kurosawa movie. And it's one of his most acclaimed works, but I had never seen it before. This was kind of a blind spot for me. I'd seen a few Akira Kurosawa's movies. I've seen Seven Samurai and Rashomon, a lot of the big ones, but I'd never seen Ikiru. And this movie takes place in the 50s. Like it's not like a samurai movie.
Right.
It was made in 1952, and it takes place in the 50s. And it's just about like this government bureaucrat who discovers he has cancer and is trying to find the meaning of his life. And trying to figure out how he's wasted his life for the past 30 years working for this government bureaucracy, and trying to find meaning in the last few months of his life. And it is just incredible. This movie just completely floored me. Like I could not move when this movie finished. It goes into like the pointlessness of bureaucracy and the weird kind of normalcy that life takes on you. And I don't hear people talk about this movie as much as they do something like Seven Samurai or like Rashomon or Yojimbo or anything like that. But I think this is the best Kurosawa movie that I've seen. It's really incredible. So it's one that is pretty well known and like acclaimed and stuff like that. But it's also one that I feel like people don't talk about as much, and they probably should, because it's really, really great. So I wanted to throw that out there because I didn't really watch any I didn't watch like Ghost in the Shell or something like that, so I can't talk about that. So I might as well talk about a movie that I really liked that I watched recently. So I watched Ikiru, and then let's both talk about our main discussion for this week, I would say, most likely.
Yeah.
This past week, Mystery Science Theater 3000 came back, Mike.
It happened. It really happened.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so Netflix released the new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000, season 11 of the show. It's billed as Mystery Science Theater 3000: The Return on Netflix, and it dropped on April 14th, and it has made me so happy.
It really is. It's a ray of sunshine and happiness in the dark Snyderverse that we live in.
Yeah, it is like watching it. It's like the show never even left. Like that's kind of the crazy thing. Like it kind of just slides right back into the groove. Like all of the new cast are great, and it just really captures the spirit of the show.
Yeah, that was the thing I was most worried about. I mean, I had pretty high hopes or expectations, and I had faith because Joel Hodgson was so heavily involved in this that I figured I had hoped and assumed it would recapture a lot of that old feeling. And then that first episode, when they do the kaiju rap, I was like, yeah, they got it. This is the one. They did the thing that it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And the updated riffs that are obscure references to stuff that I understand and aren't 25 years old feels so cool. It feels like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's great because like those obscure riffs and like weird stuff is still there. Like it's still referencing. There's such a vast pool of references in these Mystery Science Theaters, and just like in the old one. And so like, there's still stuff that you're not going to get, but it's going to be immediately followed by something that you do get. And and then when there is an obscure thing that you do get, you feel so smart when you get when you get it.
Yeah. There's I think they definitely benefit from having a very substantial pool of writers. Every episode, it seems like there's about 10 writers credited.
Yeah, and a lot of them are like pretty big. Like Dan Harmon was involved with this, and like Justin Roiland and Rob Schraub, but also like the guy who wrote Ready Player One, Ernest Cline, it was involved with this. Joel McHale was involved with this somehow.
They have a lot of guest writers per episode. I think there's like 5 or 6 or 7 writers that are the normal, like the Jonah Ray and oh man, I forgot who do the bots. Hampton Young, right, is one of them. I think
Hampton Young or Baron Young and Hampton Mount, something like that.
Something like that. I forget. Yeah. We probably should have looked it up.
They're Crow and Tom Servo.
Crow and Servo, Jonah, Joel Hodgson, Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt, like the main cast of the crew, plus whoever guest wrote on the episode. So there's always a huge pool of writers, and I think they really benefit from having all those fresh names and a huge pool, because the riffs are rapid fire now. Yeah. They're happening all the time, and
it's a lot more fast paced than the older show too, which is nuts. And I mean, the old show is hilarious, but I feel like there's just something about this that is just like so like, even if you're not laughing at one joke, like the next joke you're gonna laugh at, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's pretty great. And just as somebody who loves like schlocky cinema, right? Like, it's pretty great to have this back. Like the show is back, so I can discover the glory of something like Reptilicus.
Right. Yeah.
How many episodes have you watched so far, Mike?
I'm in the 6th episode.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's Star Crash, right?
Star Crash, yeah.
All right.
Which is just the most ridiculous Star Wars ripoff of all time.
Yeah, and I just finished episode 4. This show is the reason why I don't have that many discussions this week.
Pretty much.
Because I've just been watching this, and the episodes tend to take the amount of time that watching a movie would take.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Reptilicus was a lot of fun. What was your favorite episode so far, Mike?
I think my favorite episode is the second one, which is Cry Wilderness.
Cry Wilderness is pretty great. I think Time Travelers was probably my favorite, which is the third one. And I think part of the reason why that is because it's really funny. But it's like the best Mystery Science Theaters, where they're really funny, but also I get kind of invested in the movie. Like, well,
yeah, Time Traveler, I didn't notice. It's like not that bad of a movie.
Yeah, like it's
schlocky.
It's not good. I would say, but like the concepts are like pretty interesting, and like the twist at the end is like, whoa.
Yeah, I think my favorite bit in Cry Wilderness is there's lots of stock footage of just animals, of just wilderness stuff, and they do this running montage of PSAs as the animals, because it's just like a good 3 minutes of just stock footage of animals, and it's hilarious.
Yes, man, it's so good, and like the changes to the show, like Gypsy is like more a part of the show now than she was back in the day. Like she can pop in and like do a riff in the movie, that kind of thing, and I think that's pretty fun. And like Tom Servo can fly now, which is
I like the Skeleton Crew is a really fun introduction. Just
great.
this miming ska band that's in the background of everything.
Yeah, and also Felicia Day and
Patton Oswalt
are just, I think, great as the Mads.
Yeah.
They have a lot of fun. They have they have a lot of like really funny physical comedy bits. The Carvel cake thing I thought was really funny. They did.
Did you see Carvel responded to that?
Did they?
Yeah, they put out a tweet of a new cake, and they tagged it, sent it to Mystery Science Theater, but it's just a different take on Fudgy the Whale. It was great.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's just really nice to have the show back. I would assume like it's gotten a really positive response from fans too, and I think a lot of people are watching it. So I'm hoping Netflix like funds a season 12.
Me too. Yeah,
that would be great. We don't have to resort to Kickstarter again. I'm sure if they did another Kickstarter, it would probably work. But I would. I just like to be assured that like every year we get new Mystery Science Theater.
We get more Mystery Science Theater, yeah. So hopefully.
It would be nice. And yeah, just hearing that theme song again, but like reworked and like the whole thing, like, and just seeing like Felicia Day in the theme song. I was like, it's Felicia Day. Like I didn't think I could love this show anymore. And then in episode 4 there was a Dr. Horrible reunion, and I was like, yes.
And it's amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, I was a big fan of Mystery Science Theater. I'm so glad the show is back. I look forward to watching the rest of the season, and I think you do as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very exciting. That's Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Netflix right now, and it's just destroyed my entire watching schedule for everything else.
But in the best way possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Like here's the thing: a lot of my favorite shows are coming back right around now. Like Leftovers just came back and it had a great season premiere. Better Call Saul just came back and it had a great first 2 episodes. Archer just came back and I watched the first episode of that and it was good. And Twin
Fargo
Peaks
starts tonight.
Twin Peaks coming back soon. Silicon Valley and Veep are back. There's so much stuff that I love coming back at once, and I feel like I can't watch any of them because Mystery Science Theater is taking so much of my time. And I'm still 3 weeks behind in all the other shows that I watch.
Yeah, the sacrifices you make, Mike.
Man, I really just gotta like take off from work for a couple of days and just plow through all my TV shows.
Listen, boss, I have a lot of TV to catch up on.
I got so many episodes of Riverdale piling up, you don't even know. Speaking of, I don't know if you've been watching Riverdale. You probably have.
I have not been watching Riverdale.
It's pretty good.
Oh my god!
I am kind of a fan of Riverdale. I think it's really entertaining.
You like that edgy Archie?
Edgy Archie. I actually on Twitter what they call it is Hot Archie Who Fucks. That's like the name of the show.
Oh my god!
Instead of calling it Riverdale.
Oh man.
But anyway, yeah. So that's Mystery Science Theater 3000 and also Riverdale. Should we get into our featured review, Mike?
Yeah, I think we should.
All right, let's do that. Let's get into our featured review of The Fate of the Furious.
They're still on us. These guys are taking this personal.
You were only supposed to create a diversion, Roman.
That was complete destruction. What you want from me? I'm Roman Pierce, man. It's what I do. phase 2.
Phase 2? What's phase 2?
Pounds away.
Holy shit!
You know what I like about you, Dom? You're a genuine outlaw. But you're family.
The hell of a job, brother. When we get back to the base, beer's on me.
He's about to go up against the only thing they can't handle. You.
All right, that was from the trailer for The Fate of the Furious, directed by F. Gary Gray, the director of Straight Outta Compton. It stars Vin Diesel, The Rock, Jason Statham, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Natalie Emmanuel, Scott Eastwood, Kurt Russell, and Charlize Theron, among others. And the IMDb plot synopsis for The Fate of the Furious reads, when a mysterious woman seduces Dom into the world of terrorism and a betrayal of those closest to him, the crew face trials that will test them as never before.
Ooh.
Okay, so Mike, we reviewed the previous movie in this franchise, Furious 7, way back in the early days of this podcast. That was one of our first reviews.
Yeah.
And if you were listening back then, you'll know that around that time, I watched all of the Fast and Furious movies in a very short time frame and became something of a super fan.
Yeah.
I'll recap. I think the first one is pretty good.
Sorry, I just imagined you being like, we're gonna go over all the movies again. Here we go. Full in-depth review. So, my headcanon was way funnier than what happened.
Exterior, night. We open on a street race in the city of Los Angeles. Specifically, I think the first one is pretty good. I think 2, 3, and 4 are pretty rough. Like I don't think they're really that good. Although Tokyo Drift has its moments. I feel like I've been coming around on Tokyo Drift a little bit more. I got to watch it again. But man, 5, 6, and 7 were just like on another level. Especially 7, which I think is one of the most insane movies that Hollywood has released in a few years. So I was pretty stoked for Fate of the Furious. But at the same time, I was a little hesitant, if only because 5, 6, and 7 closes, there's kind of an arc between those movies, and by the time you get to 7, it closes several of the series arcs. Like Letty has her memory back, Brian and Mia retire from the life of car spy games to take care of their kids. So it was kind of an open-ended question about where the series will go from there, especially now that Paul Walker's not going to be around anymore. So I will say, I do think this movie has some problems. In the story department specifically, it does have a great hook for the story. I think the story is it's a great idea, pitting Dom against the team that he's valued so much. But the result, I think, is that the movie has to split its runtime between Dom playing the bad guy and the team being good guys. And I think I'd much rather watch the team banter for 2 hours than watch Vin Diesel grumble for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yep. I happen to agree for the most part.
Yeah, I think that's my big issue with the movie. Is that actually I do have one larger issue with the movie, which is this: the movie takes Jason Statham, who's the villain in the last movie, who killed Han,
right,
and blew up Dom's house, and in general caused a lot of mischief, and puts him on the team. And here's the thing: I'm so glad they did that because he is incredible. In this movie, he is on fire. Jason Statham is incredible. This is his best action performance since Crank. He's. It really is. He's so good in this movie. But I feel like the movie never really grapples with the consequences of his actions in the last movie. Mm-hmm. And the gang kind of accepts him on the team way too easily.
Right.
He killed Han.
Yeah. I think I agree with you on both of those points there. I think I am less enamored on this franchise as a whole than you are. But 5, 6, and 7 I think are really good. 7 is fucking amazing for what it is.
Yeah,
it's just insane and great. And we gushed over it a lot.
We did. Yeah, I mean, consensus if you go through the Fast and Furious fans, consensus pick is that 5 is the best one. And a lot of people think 7 is a little too cartoonish, and to me, I say that's insane because there is no such thing as too cartoonish for the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah,
and I do think 5 is probably structurally the best Fast and the Furious movie, but Fury 7 is my favorite. There's just there's so much insane shit happening there that I can't help but love it. Yeah,
and I definitely do agree though that Jason Statham, I think that is a really interesting, fun thing to do to make, to bring the villain. He has to be the good guy now, or they have to at least work together. But they just ignore everything that he has done previously for the most part. Other than him and The Rock talking about various ways they're going to kill each other, which is hilarious.
I would have watched 4 hours of
them shouting across the prison at each other.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been incredible. That's the thing. The Rock and Statham have the best scenes in the movie. I think involve them. They're like the best. And you could probably say that at most of these Fast and Furious movies. But they're together. They are just dynamite in this movie.
Yeah.
But the action in this movie is cool. And it's creative as ever. There's a standout sequence being the scene in New York. About halfway through, which we'll save for spoilers because I feel like that's so insane. I don't want to spoil what happens because I don't think it's even in the trailers or anything like that.
No, but I do believe that is the point where I was getting to the point where I was done with this movie for a while. I was kind of over it.
Yeah, and
then that happened, and then the movie is pretty much an upward for the for the rest of the movie. It's just action.
Okay.
It seemed like it took a long time to get where it was going, I guess is how I'm going to put it. But I do agree with you that having to split the runtime between the silly action or silly banter of the crew with Vin Diesel doing his best Nick Cage impression of randomly yelling words for the other half of the movie did feel a little weird.
Yeah. And the thing is, all the stuff with the crew, I thought was really entertaining. They're basically, it's nothing you haven't seen before. I feel like, but they're all just so solid together, and just so much fun watching these characters. But like I was saying about the action of this movie, the best Fast and Furious movies utilizes cars in ways that we've never seen them utilized before, and I think that action sequence in New York definitely does that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think Charlize Theron is a good villain for the series, but she isn't really given enough to do in this movie. She's there throughout a lot of it, but mostly she just stands behind a monitor and throws off quasi evil dialogue, "Ooh, that one's gonna hurt." Or
yep. Yeah. There's nothing
those guys have insurance.
There's nothing more exciting than watching people try to counter hack each other, Mike.
Yeah, and that kind of bugs me because how do you cast Furiosa in your Fast and Furious movie?
And she doesn't even drive a car.
She doesn't even drive a car.
Yeah.
I felt like the reason she was cast in this movie was because of Mad Max, right? It was
I would think. I don't know.
But yes, but still, the movie basically delivers what I want from these movies, which is totally insane action scenes, peppered with some funny dialogue and team banter. And as always, The Rock is awesome. His scenes with Jason Statham are awesome. Scott Eastwood, what'd you think of Scott Eastwood?
I think he was a fine addition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what he's fine, but he's no Paul Walker,
right.
He's obviously there just to kind of replace Paul Walker. He's kind of just thrown in let's throw in this other white guy. And
yeah, I didn't even think of that, but you're definitely right.
But I think he served a very strong function in the film as the group punching bag.
Yes, he's the. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed the fact that everybody just shit on him the whole time. And,
the whole movie.
And I hope that continues throughout the rest of the series if he's in more of them.
Yeah.
And Kurt Russell, he's just so effortlessly cool in everything.
I was so glad that he has a much bigger role in this one, or is in a lot more of it than I remember him being in 7.
Yeah,
even though he is a lot of it.
Yeah, he's in a pretty decent amount of 7, but he's he kind of serves sort of the same function where he's just kind of off to the side, telling people what to do. But at least in Furious 7, he does get one pretty dope action moment. Where he puts his sunglasses on and he's shooting dudes left and right, and then he gets shot. It's pretty quick, but it's cool to see Kurt Russell back in action even for a second. So I was kind of hoping he'd get more an action scene in this movie too or something. That didn't happen, but there's always Fast 9. But I was also glad that Natalie Emmanuel returned as Ramsey from the last movie. But I do question the need for 2 hackers on the team.
Right?
Because they have her and they have Ludacris, and also why can't she get her own car? Why does she have to drive Ludacris's car?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was an odd thing to me. And I did want to say there's been a lot made of the feud between The Rock and Vin Diesel behind the scenes of this movie.
I haven't heard this.
Really?
Yeah,
that's just been a huge thing, man.
Somehow I missed it.
I want to say it was last summer. The Rock posted something on Instagram about filming this movie. And I think it was his last day of shooting and stuff like that. And he was posted a picture of the movie, and he had like this very long paragraph attached to it saying like, people working on Fast 8 are great, or most of the people working on Fast 8 are great anyway. All the ladies are wonderful, and most of the gentlemen are wonderful too, but some of them are just total assholes and candy asses. Candy ass was the big word that he used. And it turned out that person that he was having a feud with was Vin Diesel. And it seems like a lot of people thought it was maybe like for publicity for the movie. Some people thought it was going to be like a thing that would take place at WrestleMania where they would like do the whole thing there.
Yeah.
But it seems like the feud was actually legit. And if you watch this movie, I don't know if you noticed this, the two of them never are seen in the same frame at all.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Holy shit.
And I think that does create like sort of a disconnect between these characters. And I don't think it hurts this movie that much because again, Vin Diesel is not a part of the team for most of the movie, so it doesn't make it that big a deal. But I think it specifically towards the end when all the characters are kind of like sort of reunited. They're all in the same place, and Vin Diesel and The Rock are never seen in the same shot together, and it's like, oh, it's kind of weird. And apparently there was supposed to be a post-credit scene for this movie, which would have featured The Rock and Jason Statham. And Vin Diesel put the kibosh on that and like axed the scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But apparently, and this just came out today, actually, they're all good now.
All right. It's over. Okay, cool.
They're all good now. They'll be cool for Fast 9. I think Vin Diesel's beef was that The Rock was becoming a bigger star in his own franchise than he was.
Right. Yep.
Which I guess is fair, but also like, if you got The Rock, man, like that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. What did you expect?
And that's the thing. I feel like Vin Diesel is kind of outshone in this movie by both The Rock and Jason Statham. Because they are having so much more fun. Like, they get to do a lot more fun things, whereas Vin Diesel mostly gets to, like, glower off to the side for for a while. So, I mean, I did really enjoy the movie. I think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really intense action scenes that I will talk about. Like, I don't want to spoil any of the action stuff. There's so much cool shit that I'll talk about in a few minutes during spoilers. But I did want to say, going into this year, there's 3 Vin Diesel movies coming out this year. And the least weird one is Guardians of the Galaxy 2. the one that is the least insane is the one where he plays a talking baby tree.
Right.
But, going into this year, there's XXX3 and there's Fate of the Furious. And I would not have expected to like XXX3 more than Fate of the Furious, but I actually kind of did.
Wow.
And I think Fate of the Furious is a lot of fun. And so is XXX3. But XXX3, I feel like, is a lot more shoddily made. Like it's a lot more like loose than Fate of the Furious. The Fate of the Furious is more well structured and probably a better well made movie.
Yeah,
but XXX3 has so much going for it, especially like in the second half. Like it's just nonstop escalating action, and it has Vin Diesel as part of the team. And I feel like I think that's where Vin Diesel works best. Is as kind of a leader of a little gang. Like XXX3 only succeeds because it ripped off the Fast and Furious movie. It's just, that's kind of what it is. And so I feel like having Vin Diesel separated from the team for so long, even though I think it's a great story hook to have him be the bad guy, does ultimately hurt the movie a little bit.
Yeah. I think I did say earlier that I was done with this movie until the second half, I guess.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I did come out having fun. It is still a fun movie. It is silly. It's big, bombastic, explodey fun that we all enjoy.
Yeah.
It is. I do enjoy it less than 7, which I think is my favorite one.
7 is pretty great. I mean, I rewatched 5, 6, and 7 before this movie came out, and just reiterated the fact that 7 is just so fucking awesome.
Yeah, I did notice that in Fate of the Furious, they maybe I don't remember it in the other movies, but they aped the camera flipping 360 that happens in Furious 7 a couple times.
Did they?
Yeah, they do it in Fate of the Furious, which maybe I'll save for spoilers. I don't know. When I noticed it was a spoiler. It's an important plot moment. But it is still fun. It is. I do agree with you that splitting the team up or making Dom have to be the bad guy kind of takes away the momentum that a lot of the movie builds up with the crew, which is like what you're there for, right? And then we have to stop and pause and have grumbly, gravelly, angry voices or conversations, and then we go back to big, exciting, fun stuff. Yeah. But it is still an overall. I enjoyed it. I had fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun too. So we should get into spoilers, I think, for Fate of the Furious, because there's a ton of action scenes that I want to describe, because I think just describing them is a lot of fun. But also some pretty big story points that I do want to talk about. So let's do that right now with the Fate of the Furious spoilers, starting right now.
Stop it, both of you! You're spoiling it! You're spoiling everything!
All right, spoilers for the Fate of the Furious, starting right now. So I did want to say, I did see this movie the night that our president started inviting war with North Korea. So it was sort of extra satisfying to watch The Rock actively try to prevent World War III.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This is a real time plot that could happen.
Yeah, so that was at least like it was just kind of like nice to see that happening. But I want to say the best scene in this movie to me is the prison break sequence with The Rock and Jason Statham. I don't know if you felt the same way, but that sequence was just so much fun. And like again, that's the one that focuses on The Rock and Statham the most. I feel like just the two of them being together, and those guys are just like unstoppable forces of nature. And there's so many memorable moments in that scene. There's like the guards like shooting The Rock, and he just like is standing there and it's like rubber bullets, big mistake. He just destroys them, which rubber bullets can hurt you.
Yeah, they could be fatal,
but not if you're The Rock.
Nope.
And I think my favorite thing in the movie is when the guy has a shiv and he's running up to The Rock. It's like, I've been waiting a long time for this. And The Rock takes it and turns it, like reverses it and stabs the guy. And it's like, keep waiting, bitch. And tosses him aside. It was just so cool.
I think that scene is so much fun. And I think you're right, because when Statham and The Rock are together, it is it's the closest to a superhero movie that these movies can be, because they're superheroes, literally, like what they're doing.
100%. In Fury 7, Dom has earthquake powers. Like that's.
Yes, in the scene right before, or the scene we mentioned earlier, where they're yelling insults at each other across their prison across the hallway or whatever.
Yeah.
The Rock rips his concrete bench off the wall and starts doing curls with it.
Yes.
And it's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. It is pretty awesome. Actually, I wanted to mention the first time you see The Rock in this movie, where he's shouting at his girls' soccer team. And he's like doing this whole like warrior, like you are the greatest warriors I've ever known, and that kind of thing. He's like doing that whole pep talk, and they just like a whole warriors dance with his soccer team, which was hilarious. And I also was watching that, and I was like, "There's no way this wasn't The Rock's idea." And he just really wanted to do.
Well, that's a Maori.
That's a Maui kind of thing, right? Like
the haka, I think it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's a thing. Yeah, it's the best.
But so I did want to mention that New York City action set piece, which involves Charlize Theron hacking into all the cars in New York City.
Yeah.
So thousands of driverless cars are swarming down the streets of New York City like the zombies in World War Z.
That's exactly what I thought of too. Yeah, it's amazing.
I can't even believe I like typed that sentence and said it out loud. Like it is. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's these movies. I feel like their one mandate is that they have to involve cars in some way, right? That's like because the only thing. These were street racing movies. So they want to respect their roots and just use cars in whatever way they can. And so it seems like their only goal at this point is to find like whatever hasn't been done with cars and then do those with cars.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like that. That was pretty insane. I think that's like worth the price of admission alone. Is that sequence? It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, that scene is really cool. That is a really interesting take on that concept, right? Like that driverless cars can be controlled, which is a thing, and that's scary. But then just make it all of the cars, and then just have them. I think she even calls it Operation Zombie. I think. Yeah. When they start. It's amazing. And then we have Dom being the badass. It's fun. That action sequence was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the cars are like falling out of the parking garage like one by one. Like, it was so cool. So that was a really cool and inventive action sequence that I liked a lot. What did you think of the submarine chase at the end, Mike?
That's a sentence you really said, Mike. I had a lot of fun for that too. I was, I think, a little underwhelmed. I don't know if that's the right word to use.
I think that is right. I think it's such a great idea, but not as fun in execution as it might have been in theory. I think we're talking about F. Gary Gray's direction for a second. Like, I think it's like solid, but I feel like it doesn't have the same like energy that like Justin Lin or James Wan had for this franchise. I think that might have been part of it. And I think this is such a great idea, like having this gigantic submarine chase these cars, and it's still a lot of fun. Like it's still really cool. There's so much ridiculous stuff happening around this sequence. But it's just like, it's at the same time, like visually speaking, you're watching like one long white surface that doesn't really have that much like distinguishing characteristics or anything like that. And so there's not, there's not too much to glean from that. But there's so much fucking awesome stuff in that sequence anyway. One of my favorite moments in the movie is when Tyrese's car goes under the ice and Ludacris shoots it with a harpoon and pulls Tyrese and the car door out of the ice. And then he has to use the door as a shield while dudes shoot it.
Yeah. Like those moments are really those things really stand out. That moment is really funny and really fun. But it is, like you said, a great bland white expanse of cars driving in a straight line for most of it. But then we get stuff like that where he then uses his car door to kill or knock out 4 guys off their snowmobiles, or whatever.
And has the best. I think it has the great payoff to the running joke. There's a running joke at the beginning of the movie where they all got landed on the America's top 10 most
Interpol,
wanted list. Except for Tyrese, who was number 11. He just missed the cut, and so he's like he kills those 4 dudes that were attacking him, and he just shouts like "number 11, my ass."
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Like these movies are so much about the crew and the banter and the one-liners and the feuds they all have, and this movie does have a lot of that in great quantities and pays off a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, The Rock redirects a missile with his hand.
Right.
Which was pretty great. And then also when Vin Diesel inevitably rejoins the group at the end, he outraces a heat-seeking missile. And jumps the submarine so that the missile redirects course and blows up the submarine instead. Which is pretty awesome.
That is a great throwback to the first movie, to the first one, when his car does the wheelie. His car does a wheelie at the end here.
Same thing happens in Furious 7, actually, in his fight with Jason Statham. His car does a wheelie.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I think they may do that in every movie, but it is still really cool.
Yeah.
I did really like, though, during the submarine chase, we are cutting back to the airplane where Jason Statham and Luke Evans, right?
Yeah, Luke Evans.
Yeah, who's back?
Yeah, the bad guy of Fast and Furious 6, Jason Statham's brother in these movies.
Yeah, they come back and they fucking black ops into the or whatever into the plane.
Yep.
That's one of the things that I love so much about these movies. At this point now, we have such a large cast of characters to randomly reappear and show up as being they're still alive. And even though we've used that twist countless times at this point, it's still so much fun when those people show up.
Exactly, yeah. I would agree with that. You get the Luke Evans cameo, and also the 2 like cousins from Fast 5 pop up for a brief thing, as it turns out they were part of Dom's plan too, so that was pretty neat. Let's talk about the big twist in the movie, Mike. The reason that Dom turned bad for this movie. I kind of want to hear your thoughts about this. So the reason that Dom works for Cypher, it turns out Elena, who was The Rock's assistant in Fast 5, Dom's girlfriend at the beginning of the Fast 6, and it was in the opening scene of Furious 7, but it wasn't really in the rest of the movie. It turns out Elena was pregnant with Dom's baby when he left to go find Letty in Fast and Furious 6 and never told him. And Cypher has them captured. And as story developments go, I did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
Like, watching the trailers of this movie, like I was wondering, like, how could they possibly justify Dom going rogue because he's such a family guy?
Right.
And it turns out it's for family. Like I think that's the way to do it. Like I think that was a really great reason for Dom to do it. I'm not going to question the logic of his decision making. I don't know why he didn't just tell Michelle Rodriguez that this was going on or something. Whatever.
Right.
But whatever. Like, I'm able to buy it for this context. I was less a fan of them just killing off Elena, which seemed unnecessary to me. Even if they wanted to have a reason to give Dom and Letty a baby, which I think is the reason they killed her off.
Oh my God! Yeah, you're right.
Because here's the thing: they've already done the pregnancy storylines with Mia in Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. So I think they didn't want to do that again with Michelle Rodriguez's character. So I think they wanted to find a way to give Dom and Letty a baby because that seemed like the next natural step for them. But do so in a way that you don't have to deal with like forced stakes of like, oh, Michelle Rodriguez is pregnant now, and we have that going
right.
on. So it turns out Elena had a baby, and they killed her off so that Dom and Letty could have that baby.
Yeah. I agree with you that it feels like, sure, that makes the most sense for Dom's character for this for this universe these movies take place in, sure, why not? But for me, being less familiar, I think, with the movies, I mean, I just don't really remember 5 and 6 a whole lot. 7, okay. I do remember because it was recent. So I didn't really remember who Elena was.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, luckily they explain it. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I probably would not have remembered who she was if I hadn't rewatched 5, 6, and 7 just recently. Because I watched these movies in such a quick time span when Furious 7 came out. I watched 6 movies in like a week and a half, and then I watched Furious 7. And then I had seen Furious 7 a few more times because I was fucking obsessed with it.
And it's on HBO all the time.
That too. Yeah, Furious 7 is the kind of movie where if it's on HBO, I'll probably turn it on and end up watching like an hour of it. Like
it's great.
It's so good. But anyway, yeah. So I probably would not have remembered that if I hadn't rewatched them. So I'm glad I rewatched them. But they do kind of give you enough context about who she is to, give you enough to go on, I guess.
Yeah. But so the emotional punch of any of that didn't really land for me because like I didn't remember who she was, and then I mean luckily, like you said, she says like, oh, whatever, they explain their relationship basically, which is nice. but so it felt a lot like, here's this baby delivery character, and then we kill her. Just feels pretty fucked up. Yeah, because she literally only serves that purpose. Yeah. But it, like you said, I guess it works for Dom's whole philosophy is family first, right? Like to have those be the stakes. But that scene at the end with the Jason Statham and his brother Luke Evans saving the baby.
Yes.
And that scene is hilarious and so much fun. And I think that really also saves breaks up the monotony of the cars driving in a straight line in the ice, right?
I would agree with that, yeah. Because like we said before, Statham is on fire in this movie. He's so good. And, this whole set piece is taken straight out of the John Woo movie Hard Boiled, too. Where it's Statham, like, just getting in a gunfight while protecting a baby. And it's so good. And he's so much fun. He's like throwing off these one-liners, and like the Chipmunk song is playing in the background. It's really entertaining. The only way that set piece could have been better, and I was expecting this to happen, and I was kind of upset that it didn't go this way, would be if he jumped out of the airplane with the baby.
I thought that's where this is going, 100%.
Yeah. Apparently, the original idea was that since Dom's car was on the plane, he would have there would have been a booster seat in the back of the car that he would have put the baby in, and then he would have driven the car off the plane and parachuted off. But it was rejected for being too similar to the set piece in Furious 7.
Like there's no other references to the other movies. To the other, like, come on.
So that was a bit of a bummer because that would have been pretty insane. I don't even care about the car. I just wanted him to jump out of the plane with no parachute with the baby. And somehow survive. I think
said aim for the bushes and then jumped out.
And that was The Rock who said that.
Yeah.
And the other guys, yeah. But so Charlize Theron parachutes away at the end. She disappears, presumably so she can join the team in Fast 9. It does feel like at this point, like Charlize Theron will probably join the team during the next movie.
Well,
if they could bring back Jason Statham to be on the good guy's side, they could probably do the same thing for Charlize Theron.
Yeah. The thing I also love about these movies is that it seems like that they must just be having so much fun because they just keep adding people to these like Helen Mirren's in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think she opens up such an interesting possibility, like of having that family like joining the, like, I mean, I assume Luke Evans is going to be part of the crew in the next movie also, right? Like,
he could, you never know. I mean, so the way they kind of justify it in this movie, the reason why like the Shaws are on their side this time around is because apparently, so Luke Evans was working for Cypher in Fast 6. That's what they say.
Right.
That's what they were saying. And so when the team defeats Luke Evans, Jason Statham's character had already rejected working for Cypher, is what he was saying. But because they had nearly killed Luke Evans, and even like Luke Evans should have died in Fast 6. Like at the end of that movie implies that he's dead. And then at the beginning of Furious 7, you see him like lying in a hospital bed, and it's like, oh, I guess he's alive.
Yeah, thank God we invented that oxygen machine.
Exactly. But so like the entire reason Jason Statham goes after the team is like a revenge mission for them nearly killing his brother.
Right.
And so I guess the justification here is that he's sort of like a mirror opposite of Dom in a way, because he lives by his own like moral code, and it's all about his family, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of the thing here, and so maybe that's why they could forgive him killing Han, but at the same time, like he killed Han.
He still killed Han.
Killed Han, and that's the thing. I think that's my biggest issue with this movie is that they kind of sweep that under the rug. They don't even mention Han in this movie. And they kind of just sweep that under the rug. And that's my biggest issue. And I think they could have fixed that very easily. And I don't know if they tried to do this and they couldn't get the actor or whatever. But what if, bear with me, that scene where Jason Statham and Luke Evans show up on the plane, they show up and they have masks on. Because at that point, Jason Statham's character is supposed to be dead, right? They fake his death. And so it's like a reveal that he's alive. And it's like, oh man, Jason Statham's still alive. Which, like, obviously he was still alive. But Jason Statham lifts his mask and Jason Statham. It's like, oh cool, Jason Statham's alive. And then the next guy takes off his mask and it's Luke Evans. And my theater was excited for it. Like I went into a midnight show and people were like it was a packed theater for Fate of the Furious, and so people were like, "Oh shit, Luke Evans!" Yeah, like people were excited. But what if that guy was Han? Like, what if you pulled that mask off and it was Han? God. Like, wouldn't that be insane?
That's too far, Mike.
Wouldn't that fix everything?
It would, though. Yeah,
because really would. That would mean that Han isn't dead, so he can come back to the franchise. And if he was working with Statham, then like you would trust Statham,
right?
You know, that's like the vote of confidence, right? They're like, oh, Han is working for Jason Statham. Cool. All right, he's on the team. Great.
If you think about it. Dom did send 2 villains to save his infant child, right? Like,
exactly.
They were both the villains in 2 other movies.
Yeah. I mean, the enemy of his enemy is a member of his family, I guess.
I guess, apparently, yeah.
You know, and like that would have been insane if like the guy who lifted his mask was Han instead of Luke Evans. And I was excited to see Luke Evans, but that's kind of just a cameo. It's just like a fun little cameo. Han coming back would change the entire game. You know. And I think they're almost definitely going to bring Han back at some point. Like I feel like it's just something that
can they though? His whole death was the motivation for so many movies, or for at least 7.
I know that. I know like I know that, but I think they're going to. It just seems like people want him back, or they'll like say he has like a twin brother or something, and it's the same actor.
Yeah,
or something.
They'll pull a Twin Peaks. It's his cousin, but it's the same actor.
Exactly. I don't know. I just feel like they're almost definitely going to bring Han back at some point. They will find some excuse. They brought back Michelle Rodriguez, who died in Fast and Furious 4, was not in Fast 5, and then at the very end of that movie is the post-credits scene where The Rock sees a picture of her and is like, oh my god, Michelle Rodriguez is alive. and then Fast 6.
Yeah, it was a really weird scene that he says that. It's very meta.
Yeah. So that was I mean, I would have loved that to be the case. But again, it was fun seeing Luke Evans. It was cool. But I did want to talk about the opening race a little bit also. Which kind of brings the series back to basics a little bit, you know, brings it back to like a classic street race. It still manages to be pretty insane. Like it's not like the kind of street race you would have seen in the original Fast and Furious movie. You know, in this one, Dom is driving a car that has no sides to it. Like he's just
the frame.
He takes apart the entire car and he's just driving the frame, which about halfway through the race starts to catch on fire. So he drives a flaming car and then wins the race backwards. Both things done by Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights 11 years ago. That was my first thought. Like as soon as he won that race, like I turned to my friend and I was like, "Ricky Bobby just won the race in reverse." and then he flies the car off the side of the road and it goes into the water and explodes. I think, right?
Yeah, it's a very weird thing to happen, right? Like. It makes sense for what they're trying to do with the movies about street racing. Well, at one in the whatever, I lost my train of thought. The movies were once about street racing, right? So let's start with the street race.
Yeah,
but it feels so just cartoonish and not in the exciting ways that the rest of the movie is.
I mean, I think it was exciting. I liked that scene a lot. I thought it was really.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Really it's fun. It just feels so ridiculous. I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with the camera movements and the editing and stuff for me. That it was just like it looks like a street racer race. It's really odd. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, end of the day, I still love watching these characters and the insanity they get up to. So, even though I don't think this reaches the highs of the franchise at its best, I do think it still has enough going for it to recommend, especially if you like these movies. I feel like if you like these movies, there's no way you're not seeing Fate of the Furious. And based on its box office total, that seems to be the case. I don't know if you saw Fate of the Furious broke the record for biggest worldwide opening weekend ever.
What?
Yeah.
Ever?
Ever. Beating Star Wars The Force Awakens.
What the fuck? That's insane.
Yeah, that's worldwide. In America, it actually made a lot less than Furious 7 did. About like 40 to 50 million less than, and it still made like $98 million its opening weekend in America. But worldwide, over 500 million.
Wow.
It is. I mean, that is just insane amount of money. That it's almost broken $1 billion in like its opening week. Like that's
fuck, man.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, right? So I think that's
we'll just have one more trilogy.
One last trilogy. That's the thing. I do think. Where do you think this can go from here? Like these movies get progressively more insane as they go on, right? Fast 5. They're driving safe through the streets of Brazil, right? That's like the big insane stunt. Yeah. Fast 6. The endless runway scene.
Right. Which I do love that they reference in this, too.
Yes, they do mention that. They call back the other movies quite a bit in this movie, actually. They do. They call back the street fight line. They call back to God's Eye, too, from Furious 7.
Yeah.
Which was great, because that was my first thought, was like when they needed to track Charlize Theron, and I was like, well, why don't they just use God's Eye? And then Tyrese Gibson has the same thought, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm as smart as Tyrese Gibson.
Crushed it.
But then they can't use it anyway. They make it untraceable or whatever. But I did enjoy that. But what was I saying?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the big set pieces for every movie.
Oh yeah.
The never-ending runway in 6.
The never-ending runway in 6, and there's the tank in 6, and this the whole stuff there. Furious 7 has the car skydiving out of the sky, and the car driving through 3 separate buildings, 100 stories in the air. And the Rock flexing out of his cast and like driving a car off a bridge through a drone and then yanking the machine gun off of the drone and then marching down the street while Michelle Rodriguez is like, "Did you bring the cavalry?" And he's like, "Woman, I am the cavalry." And he just the point is Furious 7 is fucking awesome. But I mean, in this movie, they're in Russia and they're being chased by a gigantic Arctic sub while Jason Statham is in a plane that's going down while getting in a gunfight that's protecting a baby. Right. And also there's zombie cars that exist in this movie. So like, where can they go in Fast and Furious 9, the Fine of the Furious?
Furious 9 to 5.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, I guess they'll just wait and see what new technology comes out between now and then they'll make a movie based on it, right?
I mean, it's coming out in like 2019 or something. They have it set. They have it set in stone.
Do they?
I mean, they have the date. I think 2019 for Furious 9 and then 2021 Furious 10 are the goals that they're hitting.
Okay.
I mean, I think outer space is not outside the realm of possibility.
I think you're probably right at this point.
I think Furious 9 should go outer space. And then Furious 10 should go interdimensional.
Wow.
I think that's the only logical explanation.
I like it.
And then when they go to the other dimension in Furious 10, who do they find but Han 2?
Oh my god. Yep. Yeah, I mean, but like because the hackable zombie cars, like that's a new tech, right? That's a new thing. Yeah. When Jason Statham and Luke Evans get onto the plane, they use the like personal jet engine things that are like just happening now.
Yeah.
Right. So I think they'll just wait and see what crazy shit people invent, and then they'll write a script on it and film it.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to see where the series goes from here. And this one wasn't as well received as the last few were. And again, I mean, I do think it's a come down from 5, 6, and 7, but it is still a lot of fun. So it'll be interesting to see where the series go, how it responds to some of the criticism it got for this one. I mean, I assume Dom will be part of the team again for Fast 9, so that might help that movie out quite a bit. And also, there won't be supposedly there won't be any feud between Vin Diesel and The Rock, so that might help out too. I'm amazed you hadn't heard about that at all.
Yeah, I don't know how that escaped me somehow. Did we want to mention the Paul Walker tribute again? We did this a little bit.
We haven't mentioned that, yeah. So. About halfway through the movie, when Dom first meets the baby, He first meets sees Elena and the baby captured on Charlize Theron's ship. She shows him the baby, and she's like, "What's his name?" And she's like, "He doesn't have a name yet. I thought the father should name him," which is a weird thing if you're not going to tell Dom that you have a
right.
baby.
If you had decided not to tell him, right?
Yeah. So he and then she dies, so he gets the baby, and he names the baby Brian. And as soon as she said the father should name him, I was like, "Well, it's going to be named Brian." Like that's not.
I thought maybe it would be Paul, which would be weird.
I thought it might have been Paul too, which would have been, that would have been obvious why they did that, but it also would make no sense story in the story. Yeah, there's nobody named Paul in Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah,
and then there's Brian, which also, I mean, it's not like Brian's dead in these movies. It's
they reference him. I think Tyrese Gibson says at some point Brian would know what to do. And Letty's like, they're retired. We can't bring them in.
Yeah, Letty says they can't bring Brian into this. And I got to say, I mean, I understand why they kept Brian alive in these movies, right, after Paul Walker died, because they want to give him a proper send-off, and they want to just let his character live out in peace with Mia. But I feel like that's such a weird story bit, because it's like, this is absolutely something Brian should know. That Dom is turning rogue and working against the team and stuff like that, And that was an odd story choice. I feel like why even mention him,
Yeah,
why even bring it up? But I did think the ending was kind of nice. That obviously he would name the kid Brian, but also Brian's not it's not like Brian's dead in these
in the movies.
So it's like a weird tribute to him. And even then, it's like if you're going to name the kid after your friends, that's the thing people do, sure. But usually your friend will be present when you're going to announce that, And so it's just a lot of weird story things. Obviously they did it the way they did it because of these reasons, but none of it really makes sense.
No. Well, but here's the thing: really, nothing makes sense in these movies, so it's fine. So don't even worry about it.
This is a movie where Jason Statham is their best friend now. So after trying to murder them in the last movie.
Where The Rock is the Hulk, it's fine.
Yeah, they literally call The Rock Hercules at one point in this movie. Jason Statham calls him Hercules.
Yeah, they do.
Which I thought was cool. But yeah, I would watch. I hope one day there's a Rock and Statham spinoff of the Fast and Furious movies.
I hope there's a bonus feature, special feature on the DVD or Blu-ray that is just the scene of them yelling at each other across the prison cells for an hour and a half, and then also an hour and a half of Tyrese Gibson and Ludacris improvising insults at each other. Yeah, because those are the best parts of the movie.
Those are the best parts of the movie. I mean, Tyrese and Ludacris are great, and The Rock and Statham are great. One of my favorite bits is towards the end of this movie, where Ludacris has been hitting on Ramsey this whole time, and towards the end, she's like, "So who's going to be me or Ted here?" And she's like, "Let me ask you this: do either of you know my last name?" And they're both like, "What?" They're both totally dumbfounded by the question, and it's once one of you figures that out, then we'll talk. And Ludacris is like, it's gonna be Parker. What do you? So there's just fun stuff that is going on.
Yeah,
so.
there's the banter is always such a highlight for these movies. So
and also just them punching down on Scott Eastwood was really interesting. The Rock breaking out of his handcuffs and and throwing Scott Eastwood up against the wall sideways was pretty incredible. But also I just loved them. Making fun of Scott Eastwood, he calls himself Little. They call him Little Nobody in this movie, which I thought was pretty funny and demeaning. But one of my biggest laughs in the movie was when Scott Eastwood adjusts his tie, and then Tyrese imitates him just adjusting his tie.
I think I'm just gonna watch Furious 7 when we're done with this podcast.
That's true. I mean, Fate of the Furious is a lot of fun, but Furious 7 is a fucking masterpiece. So. There's that. So I guess we should wrap up today, Mike. I think we've talked about.
I think so. I think we're pretty done.
Yeah. But you enjoyed it at least.
Yeah. I definitely had a lot of fun. I think it's silly. It's big. It's explosions. It's what you want in a Fast and the Furious movie.
That's right.
I don't think it delivers as highly as 5, 6, and 7, or especially 7.
Yeah.
But that a few things can. So. So go enjoy the Fate of the Furious.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you enjoyed it because I felt like I was forcing you to go see this just because I love Fast and the Furious so much. And
no, I like these movies. They're fun.
All right, cool. And yeah, I enjoyed the movie too. It doesn't hit the highs of the franchise in the past, but there's some insane set pieces, and I think it's worth it just for Statham alone being fucking awesome. But yeah, so that's the Fate of the Furious. But I would say go see it. But lower your expectations just a little bit if you're coming in from the high of the past few movies. So, Mike, where can we find you online this week?
You can find me at twitter.com/mdfilmblog. And if you like Dungeons & Dragons, my friends and I post our games at youtube.com/geonerd79.
And you can find me online at twitter.com/msmithfilmblog and all my podcasts and stuff at FilmBook.com. And you can find my work at crookedscoreboard.com, too. Thank you so much for listening to FilmBookCast. I'm Mike Smith. That is Mike DeCrescio. If you are listening to this review via our podcast on iTunes, please subscribe to the podcast, rate it, and take a moment to give us a review. Any and all feedback, compliments, topic discussions, and even hate mail can be sent directly to podcast@filmbook.com. Please list the podcast you're emailing about in the title of your email, because we produce just so many different ones, it's hard to keep track. We would love to hear from you. Join us in 2 weeks for the next FilmBookCast, where we'll probably be reviewing Free Fire. I feel like that's probably a good one to do. There's Free Fire. There's also The Circle, which I've heard, which seems kind of cool. But if we don't get a chance to do that, then in 3 weeks we'll just do Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Because that's
right. We'll find something.
We'll figure it out. But I think Free Fire would be a good one. Have you seen the trailers for Free Fire, Mike?
I have not, but I have heard of it, and it sounds like a thing that I really want to see.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool actors just being in a gunfight for an hour and a half, and that sounds like a lot of fun. Brie Larson is in that movie, and Charlton Copley and Armie Hammer, and so hopefully I'm hoping for good things. I've heard good things about it, actually, so we'll see what happens there. And then you can check out our next Complete Works, where we're going to be talking about Nicolas Cage's role in John Woo's 2002 war film, Wind Talkers. And I haven't heard such great things about that one. And Mike, you've seen
it. Not so hot.
Yeah, you've seen it once before, right?
I have seen it, yeah. I don't remember a whole lot of it, though. Okay. But I have seen it. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to check that. I mean, I love John Woo. But, this is one of his later American movies that didn't get so much critical acclaim. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's still John Woo, though. So there could be something there. Hopefully. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We are out.